Hello, welcome back to my channel. I am limitless, boundless conscious energy masquerading as a human being named Mercedes-Alexis. In today's video, God told me to tell y'all that everything comes from within. Nothing comes from without. You are all that there is. You are God. And the 3D is a reflection of you. Everything comes from within you. Nothing comes from without. Nothing comes from outside of you. Nothing comes from the 3D, because the 3D is a reflection. The 3D is a shadow of your consciousness, your true actual reality. Everything comes from within consciousness. Nothing comes from without. Nothing comes from the 3D. Nothing can come from the 3D, because the 3D is nothing but a shadow. The 3D is not real. You are the only real thing. You as consciousness have always been and will always be. Beyond any human story or past is eternal consciousness, and that is what you actually are, and that is from which everything comes. Nothing comes from the shadow, the reflection that is the 3D. Nothing is created within the shadow, the reflection that is the 3D. Everything is done in consciousness. Everything is created within consciousness. Within. After I wrote down everything comes from within, nothing comes from without, it reminded me of two famous quotes that I wanted to include in this message. The Hermetic Principle: as within, so without. What you believe within, what you expect within, what you imagine within will become the without, will become your reflection, will become your 3D reality, because it has no choice but to. It is a mirror and can only reflect you, the life that is you, the creator that is you, the consciousness that is you, is the only thing that the 3D can ever reflect. As within, so without. As you believe, so you will experience. As you expect, so you will experience. So if you expect yourself to already have and be everything, if you expect that everything is already within you, the 3D will have no choice but to reflect that. But if you expect and believe that you are a separate individual human being trying to figure out life, then the 3D has no choice but to reflect that. The 3D is always reflecting. The 3D can only reflect. As within, so without. The other quote that this reminded me of is from the Bible, Matthew 6:10. On earth as it is in heaven. Heaven is your consciousness. Heaven is your awareness of being. Heaven is here now. Heaven is not a place that you go to once you die. Heaven is your consciousness, and earth is the 3D. Earth is the mirror, the reflection, the shadow that is the 3D. So on earth as it is in heaven is another way of saying in the 3D as within your consciousness. Your consciousness comes first, and then the 3D is a reflection of your consciousness. Just like heaven comes first, and then earth is a reflection of heaven. On earth as it is in heaven. In the 3D as it is within your consciousness. It is our work to understand this truth and not look to the 3D for the things that we desire, but understand that the 3D can give us nothing. The 3D can do nothing. Everything is given and done within consciousness. Everything comes from within. Nothing comes from without. Everything comes from the belief and knowing that you are the source that creates everything within your reality. There is no limitation but your expectation. There is no limitation but your belief. There is no limitation but your awareness. Everything comes from within. Everything comes from that knowing that you are the source, that your consciousness, your being is the source of all, is all that you actually need, and within it is everything. Everything comes from that realization. Nothing comes from separation. Everything comes from within. Everything is within. Thank you so much for watching. I trust that this video was helpful for you. Have an amazing day.